Hello there, lovely people. It's Alex from Nintendo Life here, and today we're reviewing for you Mario and Luigi Brothership on the Nintendo Switch. This review was originally written by the wonderful PJ O'Reilly and has been adapted for video by me. But anyway, that's more than enough waffling. Let's dive right into things. As the very first Mario and Luigi RPG to be released on a full-fat home console, we've been champing at the bit to discover whether or not Nintendo would capitalize on the extra grunt of the Switch to serve us up the biggest and best turn-based Mario Bros. Romp yet in the form of Mario and Luigi Brothership. We had some concerns during our preview. As much as we love the new graphical styling and the flashy additions to the series' core combat, early areas were rather small-scale and not quite as challenging or inventive as we'd been prepping for. However, fear not, intrepid explorers, for more alluring high-seas hijinks, as it turns out, were waiting just around the corner. As you'll no doubt know by now, Mario and Luigi Brothership sees everyone's favourite plumbers take on the challenge of reconnecting the fragmented land of Concordia, where the entire Mario gang and a bunch of other Mushroom Kingdom tagalongs find themselves after a mysterious warping incident. Just another Tuesday. And so our dynamic duo proceeds to fire themselves willingly from a giant big yellow cannon aboard the game's delightful ship-shape island hub in order to deal with an ever-growing menace. It seems the denizens of Concordia are being struck down by a gloomy illness, one which makes them feel like being alone, like disconnecting from everyone and everything around them. It's electrical themed, do you get it? If not, well, it's all about connecting in Concordia, you see, and Mario and Luigi now need to travel to each fragmented land to reconnect the world in its entirety, whilst also defeating the big bad at the heart of what's gone wrong. We want to avoid spoilers, so we're not going to give too much away, but the adventure that follows has genuinely surprised us with its scale and scope, as well as in terms of its challenge, and yes, that all-important variety. Those already familiar with the turn-based combat of the series will immediately find themselves at home here, but now we've got a system of attack and defense that drills down into the whole connection and brothership motif of the game, making you work together more than ever before to get the job done. The series has always had you command each brother to jump and attack on separate buttons. It's kind of the beating heart of the whole thing, but now those sequences of attack and defense have been fleshed out, making for an incredibly rewarding combat that never really grows old. In attacking, jump and hammer assaults make up the backbone of what you're doing, with each bro playing their part as you rhythmically press buttons and have to smash their hammers as hard as they can, or get the most air possible in their jumps for maximum damage. Then, on defense, you'll need to figure out the timings of enemy attacks, of which there are many, in order to dodge and counter incoming shots. On top of this, we then add bros moves, big fancy upgradable specials that see you working together to fire off red and green shells, and a load of other stuff we're not allowed to reveal, as well as an all-new battle plug system that adds a ton of strategy to an already engaging system. Plugs initially seem like a fairly standard way to allow you to deal little boons and boosts, stuff like extra defense to help out in a pinch, or an added area of effect damage on a jump. It's how far this plug system then develops out, though, that really gives the game the kick it needs to rise above the previous entries, and then some. Once you start getting a little further into the game, battle plugs become a lot more interesting, giving you the ability to automate healing and BP potions so you don't have to factor them into turns, preventing elemental damage, dropping surprise iron balls, and so much more besides. Then it introduces the ability to mix plugs together, resulting in things like loot boosts, anti-air specializations, and a load of other things we haven't managed to unlock yet, even after a solid 40 hours of playing. Yep, this is a big old game alright, and it's got depth. Battle plugs also allow you to adjust certain parameters of the game's difficulty on the fly, in effect. You can take a bunch of the sting out of enemy shots, automate dodges and counters, and those auto-healing and potions give you a big advantage. If things are still too tough, or you just want to chill out to the max, why did you write that, PJ? The difficulty can be dropped right down to a story-focused mode that makes our protagonists unstoppable tanks in battle. Further to battle plugs, you've also got Luigi logic moments. You'll already know from our preview that Luigi's moments of inspiration are usually used during exploration to bust open boxes, press switches, and the like. Again, this aspect is also fleshed out in lots of fun ways, but it can also be used during boss battles for some very fun big moments. Get to certain checkpoints during a boss fight, and some environmental detail will grab Luigi's attention years after we noticed it, leading to the chance to do big damage that can change the flow of the fight. All of this makes for a bright and busy, comedy-infused combat system that's a genuine blast to dig into, one that's enhanced further by a roster of excellent enemies and an art style which makes for the most emotive video game iteration of the Bros we've ever seen. There's so much detail and expression in how this pair carries out attacks now, in how they dodge incoming shots by the skin of their teeth, and sweat and panic at the thought of what's next. Luigi in particular, with his awkward landings and anxious demeanor, is a constant source of joy. It all fits snugly into this idea that the game's got of connecting on a more meaningful level, and we get to connect that little bit more to the characters of Mario and Luigi thanks to the over-the-top expressions in that old-school style that the devs have chosen to give us here. And so the only piece of the puzzle that's left now is the actual world of Concordia itself, and as it turns out, that's the best and most surprising part about the whole thing. We genuinely were a tad concerned after completing the first area of the game's impressively large ocean world. The islands we visited were fun and colourful for sure, but at that early stage it was all a little samey and safe. Thank goodness then that as Concordia opens up and you discover new sailing routes while blasting around at full speed aboard the shipshape, a fun little reef spotting minigame in and of itself, Mario and Luigi Brothership 100% ups the ante and serves up a world that constantly gives us new mechanics, environmental obstacles and twists and turns and everything else. The islands and islets, which are like little mini challenge areas that you map out as you sail, begin to take on the sort of Mario Galaxy Light feel. Of course, there's no full-on platforming or anything like that, but differing gimmicks, wildly different environs, and fun things to do outside of combat make for a world and a story that you'll absolutely want to push on to see in its entirety. From rolling around on time platforms as a great big Mario Bros. Ball, to changing the weather from hot to cold in an instant to kill foes, there's always something new to do. Smashing up paths, diverting lava flows, working closely with electricity, I mean the citizens of Concordia are little sockets after all, there's so much variety to keep you fully plugged in. Side missions can be taken on at your leisure from the various NPCs you meet, and these open up the replayability factor that emerges from revisiting islands once you've connected them to shipshape. Once you've hooked them into your hub, you can return to find new paths opened up, new areas to visit, and challenges to complete. There's a whole bunch of collectibles to find, of course, and nabbing everything that pops up on your map and getting to all the good gear and secrets takes a whole lot of working together to figure out the tricks behind the islands that are uniformly well designed. Added to this constant evolving creativity, we also get a story that actually goes some places, writing that keeps the comedy aspects of the series alive and well, and a menagerie of bosses that keep the wacky challenges coming. We should also mention that there are some built-in achievements to set about completing, which is always a nice little feature when Nintendo refuses to do it on a system basis. There are a couple of negative points to mull over though. If you don't like random encounters of the old-school turn-based RPG nature, well, there's a whole lot of that going on. I mean, you can just move around them, but they move very quickly, they move quicker than you. You're designed to basically engage with everything. You can flee 90% of them without trouble, but there's no easy or slick way to avoid these battles, as the game is more focused on whether you or your enemy strike first for a foot up. Gear too is fun in its naming, and there are plenty of cool items to find, but we can't help but feel it's a missed opportunity to not allow us to change our appearance even just a little bit. Boots, overalls, and gloves that all look the same, it's just a bit bland. We get it, you know, the Mario Bros are iconic, you don't want to change them up too much, but think of the fun we could have with some small little changes like Mario's buttons are a different color or something like that. I don't know. Just consider it. Apart from these minor issues though, and with performance in docked and handheld that is decent, apart from the odd minor wobble in busy areas, what we've got here is easily the best Mario and Luigi RPG to date. The combat is on point, the world building is impressive throughout, platforming and puzzles are clever, and it's got variety in spades. Nintendo just seems to keep finding ways to squeeze more and more magic out of this 7.5-year-old console. You love to see it. Mario and Luigi Brothership takes this long-running RPG series to new heights in a high-seas adventure that's packed full of top-notch combat, inventive variety, a positive and thoughtful story, and lots of signature comedy from the dynamic duo themselves. This is a big game, packed full of surprises and fun, and the all-new Battle Plug system, alongside lots of flashy specials, a fittingly emotive art style, and a world that is brimming with puzzles and challenges, make for a must-play in our book. Mario and Luigi Brothership, you're getting a 9 out of 10 from us. You've reached the end of the review. That means it's time for Alex's personal thoughts, and I've got this irritating little thing called being a snob about story development and writing that just doesn't give me the best time with this game. The combat, the gameplay, I think it's fantastic. I really, really do. But the writing, the dialogue, and the actual story itself does almost nothing for me. All of the different citizens of Concordia are very similar to one another, and they're all very kind of saccharine in the way that they behave around everyone. Everyone's just so willing to help. Oh, I'll do anything. Oh, let me help you, Mario. And it's just... I understand it's designed to appeal to a younger audience than me, but come on, give a bit of variety. It just gets a little bit much after a while. To begin with, I wasn't skipping through any cutscenes or using the fast forward feature, which is holding B, just during dialogue and stuff like that. Mainly because I thought, well, I'm capturing, I need to show the game as it is. After a while, I just had to start doing it because it was just getting too much. There's a lot of dialogue here, and not a lot gets said. I did find myself repeatedly at odds. I really wanted to push forward and get new moves and do more with the game, do more fun combat, fight a new fun boss, but then I was always dragged back by just the kind of basic, plain, unseasoned pasta that is the majority of the characters in this game. Like Mario and Luigi are animated beautifully, they've got loads of personality. Everyone else is just really dull. But I did keep pushing through because that combat is seriously, seriously excellent. It's flashy, it's fun, the animations never get tiring, and after a few just doing the same enemies over and over again, it did get a little bit tiresome, but then when you got different new moves and things that you can do, and the battle plug system is excellent. I love trying to combine and do different things like the splash damage thing that you can do with one of the plugs, combine that with a surprise iron ball and they land out, and you're doing more damage to everyone. That's great. I really enjoy that, but my god, it took some patience to get there. Still a very good game, and this could well just be purely an Alex issue, I don't know, but I'd be remiss if I didn't give my opinion. And that's my opinion. It's a good game, but be prepared to have to be patient.